Alrighty, what's up everybody? D-O-double-G here, and we are going to do some tackle tips today. And this is something I'll be able to do a lot more often than on the water stuff. As I could come home from work and knock out 3 or 4 of these and have you guys set for the week, but we're going to get the ball rolling. And today we are talking about these little guys right here, ball bearing swivel. I know a lot of you guys know what those are, but outside of Carolina rigging, or maybe drop shotting, or just getting lazy and not wanting to tie a leader knot, I feel like a lot of people don't really know the full spec of what this thing can be used for. Living on a herring lake, Lake Murray, they have become something that is always a part of my arsenal, my terminal tackle arsenal. Um, I love it on a lot of baits because I feel like it allows me to work things a lot quicker, which is always a big deal on a herring lake. Speed is huge. If I can work my bait a quarter of a mile an hour faster than the guy before me that hit that point, I'm probably going to get bit. Uh, so, like for example, a lot of folks know what this is right here. The old Magic Swimmer, originally by Swivel. Now Berkeley's got them, still the same bait. As good as always. I've got plenty of them, catch plenty of fish on them. But a lot of folks, they'll just leave the O-ring on there, and that's it, and that's fine. It has a great action with the O-ring. Um, it's kind of how it's designed to fish. But for me personally, I can get this thing to do a lot more subtle little things in the water that you can't without the ball bearing swivel. The first thing I use it for is, we all know this bait, especially in this part of the country, um, albeit a pretty heavy bait. They do not cast very well. They love to helicopter, catch the wind, stuff like that. And it can really, after a long day of throwing it, if it's one of those days where, they're biting the swimmer, uh, by the end of the day, that fluorocarbon is pretty twisted up. And unless you're made of money, yeah, you're going to have to keep that stuff on there. And there's going to be a day where that twisted up, kind of worn down fluorocarbon hurts your feelings. So by adding the ball barrel swivel, gives this thing free range of motion. So as that thing is helicoptering through the air, it's not twisting up my line. It's doing nothing. And normally it's going to land kind of flat, even down a lot quicker. It doesn't seem to smack the water as much like that when it hits. Not that that's a huge deal. Sometimes that can maybe even help, a little disturbance over their head. But when you put that swivel on there, as a lot of folks know, these things, have a certain speed where you can work them to, and then they just kind of blow out. It'll be running, 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 and it just kind of starts to run its side like that. And you got to slow down. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't look anatomically correct, to copy a phrase of one of my favorites, Iconelli, but I love it. But when you are able to put that swivel on there, when that thing wants to blow out and it's starting to run sideways like that, the swivel seems to kind of help self-correct it, where it'll ride up on its side like that, and it kind of boom, it shoots back into the middle. Starts to run its side, boom, shoots back in the middle. And I get a lot of bites when I do that, when it's kind of almost to the point of just completely melting down and blowing out. And I just stay on it, keep my foot on the gas with this thing, and it'll just come right back straight again. And I'll get a lot of bites when that thing is kind of freaking out, and then it just kind of comes back in and keeps hunting. Ooh, they can't stand it. They can't stand it, y'all. Another thing too is when you burn this thing, real, 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 real pause, real, 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 real pause. Um, I will say the ball bearing swivel hurts in this regard, that you can't really get him to do a figure eight as well, because now you have an extra piece of terminal tackle kind of hanging down like that, bringing your line over here. So in that regard, wouldn't recommend it. If you think there's a day where that's the key, is getting that thing to do a 180 and look at the fish, I would not put a ball barrel swiveling on. But I can be named a handful of times in my life that that was like the deal. But otherwise, when you're burning this, burn, 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 pause, burn, 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 pause. it has like this extra little kick out when you kill it. Not really sure why that is. It does it without it, but not as much. It kind of goes woo, and then like woo. When you put that swivel on there, it kind of goes and it kicks out like that, and it comes back in and kicks out. That's how I've gotten most of my bites, at least this year. Personally, it wasn't the best magic swimmer year, but still caught plenty on it. You guys will eventually meet him. Steen himself had a hell of a day on a swimmer, but otherwise, it was kind of an off year. But when I could get him to bite it, it was that burn, 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 using the ball barrel swivel, and it would kind of kick out hard, and the tail would kick, and that's when they would jump on it when I would engage it again. So that's definitely one way I use a ball bearing swivel. Another is on these guys right here. Yeah, that Shad Rap's been through the ringer. You can see I got one on there as well. And the key to this, I guess I didn't mention this on the Magic Swimmer, is you don't want to put too big of a ball bearing swivel, because if you go too big, it can be detrimental and weigh the nose down too much, or just there's too much water disturbance in front of that bait and it kind of kills it. A general rule of thumb for me that I've found is whatever stock, I don't know if you guys can see this, whatever stock O-ring you put up, the manufacturer puts on there, I try to put the smallest ball bearing swivel that I can put on there without, or I should say, with having free range of movement. So I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but if I take that ball bearing swivel and twist it, I can do 360 around it. It's not hanging up in the little clip there or anything. That's how I know I have a perfectly sized ball bearing swivel from a bait. So like this, I can't remember the sizes. I don't have the bag on me, but maybe you guys can see two different baits and two different sized ball bearing swivels. I wouldn't throw this one on this and vice versa. It's not going to work. But as we go into the winter, this is a certified killer in the winter. Shad Rap's been catching fish way before I was born. But everyone knows, it's a light balsa bait. Same thing, doesn't cast well, likes to helicopter on the cast, especially thrown in the wind. I'm not going to say the ball bearing swivel fixes the helicoptering on the wind on this bait, but it will save your line. I personally throw my Shad Raps on 8 or 10 pound braid with like a 7 or 8 pound fluorocarbon leader. Some guys do just straight fluoro, some do straight mono, etc. Whatever way you throw it, you're going to get twist. So that is just a way to save the day if they're eating a Shad Rap. And not to mention, it's so light. I mean, we're probably talking a gram, maybe. I don't know how much this thing weighs, but still, I'm adding weight to a Shad Rap. That always helps. And when it hits the water, it's naturally just going to sit nose down a little bit more. So instead of, I don't know, I've had days where it's blowing hard and it lands, it hits the water, and it kind of wants to sit like that in the water, and you got to kind of pop it to engage it and get that bill down. Now, when you put the ball bearing swivel on there, that thing is nose down, ready to go. I start engaging the reel. Boom, there it goes. It's going down. So this will help save a lot of headaches this winter throwing a Shad Rap. And not to mention, obviously, when you hook up, that fish doesn't have leverage on you anymore with treble hooks. He can't twist that big magic swimmer against his gill plate and try to get leverage. He can do it. He's not gonna, because it's gonna keep spinning around, and he's coming in the boat. He's coming in the boat every daggum time. I do the same thing with all kinds of Shad Rap minnow style baits that don't throw that well. Like this is a Lucky Shad. I think these are discontinued. The PSA blueback herring color. Just want to show that off for a second. That's such a good color. Paul Selly, man, he knocked it out of the park with that thing. Anyways, I will say there's one Shad Rap I don't like to put a swivel on, and that is the shallow Shad Rap, and it always has a place. I really like this bait around, late mid pre-spawn, when they're not really committed to being up there yet, but they're You know, they're poking around, they're starting to get shallow in the mornings or later in the day on a warm day. That's when I can, or, you know, right before they're really about to make that last push, you can just annihilate them on a shallow shad rap. So these come, I should have taken this off first. The shallow guy, he comes without nothing. No O-ring, no ball barrel swivel, nothing. Um, this way it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt because they don't always come stock out of the box, and that little eyelet right there can be very finicky trying to tune it. These baits are very finicky to tuning. One little tiny overcorrection, it's going boom and not even diving. Now, for the sake of the video, I'll use this O-ring, but I actually normally like the oval style. Or if I am going with a round, I'm going to go with a much smaller round O-ring than this one. But this is just for the sake of the video. That's normally how I throw it. It'll help a little bit. It's still going to twist. It is what it is. Normally I'm in the back of a pocket or something throwing this anyway, so the wind's not too bad. But this is one of these styles of baits that I will not throw a swivel on. But otherwise, give that a try, guys. I promise you it'll help save your line. It'll help put more fish in the boat. And it'll bring some of these one-trick pony baits to life, where maybe you can do a few other things, a few other cadences, if you will, to get those fish in the boat. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and there'll be plenty more of these to come, so stay tuned. Appreciate y'all hanging with the dog. I'm OUT.